is 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock on the East Coast, talking some MLB DFS, taking y'all straight up the lock. 4-gamer. It's not a big boy slate, small boy slate. I don't know. We haven't really, just a baby one, but you can win, plenty of American dollars in this one. Crunch time comes in an hour. You got Dave Potts. You have the Looch, Justin Carlucci. He's going to be playing the role of chief meteorologist Kevin Roth as far as hosting the show. And I believe TJ Zwarych, greatest DFS player in all of Saskatchewan, Canada. I, of course, am joined by our returning champion. It's Tasteful Tides. It's Tim. Welcome back, Tim. How's your morning? How was Wednesday? How are things in your world?
Oh, they're pretty good. I'm a little, I'm on some Boston Celtics tilt. I mean, you run so good, Dean. It's like really, it's just amazing. Like your teams are just crushing my teams. It's pretty remarkable. Like these Florida teams, man. They're the best in the world.
And you already made sure to slide to my DMs and let me know that Carolina. I think you're a fake Carolina Hurricane fan all of a sudden. Is going to sweep the Florida. They're going to go 4-0. And you also mockingly, the send-off the Panthers had, like maybe 18 people showed up and wished them luck in Carolina. In hockey, It's not a hotbed down here necessarily. We like a front runner. We like a winner. People are excited.
Your six fans all showed up for the send-off to Carolina. Yep. Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't know they were your Boston Celtics. I know, I guess it makes sense, but I thought you were just kind of like you were just agnostic when it comes to the fandom. I didn't think you're a big fan of anybody, anything.
If I'm not playing DFS, I do like my Boston teams, but it doesn't affect. I'm not a homer. It doesn't affect like when I'm playing DFS. I don't really care until it comes playoff time. And it's like I'll be, I'm always going to root for Boston. I went to the Old Garden a lot. I've been to Fenway a lot. It's definitely teams that I watch a lot. With my buddies, and but yeah, it's not anything that really affects like my DFS decision making. I guess is the point.
I gotcha. And like your night wasn't ruined if Boston lost. Like at least when I was younger, when I was like a teenager or whatever, I cared so much more about my teams, and I don't think. Other people as well too.
No, it's not. I'm not that big of a fan, but I mean, I'm always going to root for the Boston sports teams.
Do you want to say what's up to those that are waking up with us early in the morning? Well, I wouldn't say waking up. People are probably waking up, but just hanging out with us here early, 11 o'clock on the East Coast. What's up, chat? TJ is hanging out too. So you're going to want to hit those get the likes out of the way, just so when TJ jumps on in an hour, he can just knock out the Spidey bombs. I presume Spidey. He takes no days off. He'll be here lurking. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Some of y'all probably just came directly, essentially, from Will's show. Will, you guys know Chief Justice, Will. He has this show at 10:30 on the East Coast, 10:30 Monday through Friday. And typically, this is Blender's time. Stop Blender. Last we've seen of him, he's in Alaska. He's on a cruise. He's cruising in Alaska. Maybe he's got some wrestling on layaway. I can't remember if he did wrestling before or after, but typically, this is when Blender is teaching y'all how to play some DFS and going, peeling the onion with all the layers, all the different ways, all different angles. But of course, when there's a day slate, we knock that show out. But Will's show, he told you who to play today on Prize Picks. He helped you guys out in Underdog before the lines get manipulated, before the lines get smashed when they are poor lines. They're poorly done, and guys like Will and other content. Basically tells you, hey, listen, this is wrong, and the lines move. And Will, I imagine he's moving the needle as well. So the earlier you get those lines, the better lines you get before they sharpen up. Do check out Will's Take Your Pick'em show, 10:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Tim, go ahead.
We hit a couple Spidey bombs last night, Dean.
Yeah,
or whatever they're called, whatever we call them, whatever Dean's dongs or whatever
there
they're
you
called.
Go.
I mean,
yes,
you hit one and I hit one, so we went 2 for 4, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take that all day long. You had Gavin Cheats. I had Christopher Morel because Christopher Morel homers every single day. He's like a cheat code. It's funny. Yesterday, and we're gonna get to this late in a second, and we have an hour to talk about this 4-gamer. Plenty of time. Whatever questions are in your mind, or just big brain questions, or just general, slate questions, or general strategy questions. This is again blenders usually talking general strategy stuff. So we're happy to, play the role of blender, I suppose, and answer those questions. Whatever's on your mind, chat, by all means, fire it out there. Also, we discussed this pre-show as well with producer Steve. We're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. We're always showing off the tools, showing off the plate IQ, showing off the lineup HQ. We're always referencing all the tools we have. We want people to have access. Of course, we love if you sign up. RG Premium. I see producer Devin hanging out in chat. I'm sure he can drop a link, a bit of a discount there if you want to sign up with RG Premium. And you get all the sports, football, baseball, basketball, everything you can think of with the exception of NASCAR, a la carte. But we're going to give away a week free of RG Premium. How do you get yourself registered for that? Well, it's very simple. You go to our Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, and you go into the live stream chat channel, and you just drop a thumbs up. Thumbs up makes yourself eligible. Producer Steve's going to put you on the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel at 11:50 on the East Coast. We'll give it a spin. If it lands on your name, we will give you a week free of RG Premium. But the point I was getting about as far as morale is, like, remember yesterday I was like, I was going to talk to Slate out with you. I'm so open as far as how to make my lineups last night. I really didn't know what direction to go because, and like a lot of people, I think you had a similar thought process. It's like there's nothing you felt like super passionate about. But when the show was over, I'm like, you know what? Morel's just like my favorite hitter. So that's like I'm going to build my lineups around him. And then I put another Cub in, and I heard Potts. I heard Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. He's really sharp. And he like somebody asked him, like, who's your favorite stack? And he basically kind of like was like, yeah, how about the Cubs? And the other thing I felt reasonably confident about, this is like not victory lap or whatever, but I didn't think the France pitcher for Houston's very good. We talked about that yesterday. I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Just I'm just gonna play the Cubs, and if we just got like a halfway decent start at a Spencer Strider, we would have won. We would have won the what's it called? The Slam on Fanduel. We got second.
So that was your Slam team, was that Cub stack? Like I was dead wrong on France. Like I thought he'd be way better. Like I know long term he's not been great, but I was really dead wrong on the Cubs, and great call by you, great call by Cheese. Definitely great hit by you. And was that first place team? Did that team not have Strider?
No, nobody had Strider up top, I don't think, because he had like 25 points on FanDuel. And Avisail Garcia just kept smashing him for homers. So they could give up 3 homers. But yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah, so just like a halfway decent start. I'm not complaining. It was good. And I had Suzuki. Of course, the double homer there for Suzuki, the old double dog. Chicago stack really worked out for me. But it was a good day. But we're back at it. We're back at it today. And the point I was getting at, leading into today, yesterday I said I have no idea where I'm going, and today I have a very, very clear path on this 4-gamer. I'm curious. Yeah, I don't have that kind of conviction about a clear path. I'm interested to hear what your clear path is, because I feel very similar to yesterday, where I'm kind of like looking at all this kind of like one chalky pitcher, and then I look at all this other kind of like muddled kind of garbage. There are some good teams, but I don't know if there's like a clear. I know there's one clear pitcher who isn't necessarily even that clear, but he's definitely going to be chalky. And then I see a lot of offenses where it's kind of like, it's a lot of not so great matchups. Good matchups, but not so, no condensed ownership, I guess. I think it's going to be kind of spread out given how small the slate is. Yeah, so given that this is an early show, I had the expert survey to write. I write in the consensus rankings to do. I was doing this last night, like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I came back to this morning and kind of finally tuned some stuff. But it came to me last night, and I believe I actually bet against this guy last time out, and it didn't work for me. And whatever, it's very possible it's not going to work again. But my conviction today is the Angels. Because I believe Tyler Wells is a fraud. I believe he's fraudulent. If you kind of dig into his stuff, the guy's been crazy lucky. Tyler Wells on the season, 47 innings. His left on base percentage, Tim, is 88.2%, which is absurd. Like, that's not sustainable. His BABIP, his batting average on balls in play, 145. What are we doing? Are you serious? Like that's not sustainable. 2.68 ERA, and good for him. He's got the best ERA in the slate. Big fly ball guy, 50% fly balls, and he's reverse splits fly ball too. And there's Mike Trout standing right there. And Mike Trout's gonna be super popular. So that's the one thing. Just because you have the salary, right? So you might as well. If I have the salary, I guess I'll play Mike Trout because you can't take it home with you. And he's going to be really popular. No Ward in that Angels lineup. I was hoping he would play. They have Mickey Moniak is going to draw the leadoff spot. He, of course, former number 1 pick in all of baseball for, I believe, the Phillies. I want to say like 7 years ago or so. Did not work out for him. Reclamation project, I suppose. He did hit a couple homers in his first game up for the Angels, but there was at one point came with huge pedigree. But yeah, my big stand today is the Angels. I'm not sure where the field is on it, but I think that they're not going to be. It's a 4-gamer. Like everybody's going to get covered, and there's also the Marlins and Washington. So at some point you're just going to land on the Angels because you kind of have to. But I was seeing Wells hit a lot of lineups, like as far as optimals, and I'm like,
yeah,
people are going to stack against, yeah.
Yeah, number 1 in our RotoGrinders projection, number 2 on Cardi's the bat projection, coming in at about 30% owned. So if you get really, really overweight on the Angels, I think you're going to be pretty contrarian. Like you said, everyone's going to have some ownership, but if you really make a stand on them, then I think that's going to be fairly contrarian.
Was I complaining about work there? Joe says, "Why does Dean always complain about work?" That was not intending to complain. I didn't mean to sound that. I was just saying that I was working last night. That wasn't me complaining. Was I hemming and hawing? I didn't think that was not my intent. I hope it didn't come across that way. It wasn't a complaint. It was just as a matter of point, I suppose. That's when it hit me. Like, oh wait, why don't we just play all the Angels in the world? Yeah, and like again, Wells has been good. But I just think at some point the regression monster is going to hit him, and hopefully it's today. And I don't know where the field's going to be as far as the Angels, but like you said, and I'm running some stuff. I'm checking our optimizer and our ownership projections. What do we have as far as we got 53% for Cease and 30% for Wells? Okay, and Yuri Perez at 40%. Do you want to guess what year Yuri Perez was born? It was very depressing when I found this out. Like,
I don't know. I know he's a big time prospect, but I don't really know much else about him. Let's say 2000.
Yeah, he was born in March of 2003. He just turned 20.
So he's real young then. Okay. Yeah.
No AAA.
Yeah. I know that he completely bypassed AAA. We're basing a lot of this stuff off of AA. Yeah, but I mean, he's playing the Nationals, but he is going to be extremely, extremely popular. That's kind of like the only, I don't know, I don't want to say disagreement, but I guess it is a little bit of disagreement on you about Tyler Wells because it's all slate dependent in my eyes, and I don't know if I want to trust the kid at higher ownership than Tyler Wells at low ownership. We at least know what Tyler Wells is a little bit more. I know that there is a pretty large price discrepancy, but salary isn't really going to be a thing today. Like there's plenty of value bats, so I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, it should be a good matchup for Perez, but he's going to be extremely, extremely chalky.
Yeah, I'm in on it. I mean, this is somebody I've been monitoring for a while. I don't know if when they called them up, we were on the show, I believe. At least I was in the show. I don't know if you're with me or not, but I remember getting excited on air, like, oh man, Yuri Perez is getting the call up for, and just making sure, he was on my, I want him in my fab for my season long team, and the RotoGrinders, I spent like 350 fab on him. I know it's very exciting stuff that people want to hear for sure, but yeah, he's just uber prospect. If you watch him pitch, he, like again, the eye test stuff. If you want, to me, he looks legit. Like 6'7", just he's a presence. And this Washington team, it should be noted, is terrible. The one hiccup, of course, with Washington is they don't strike out a ton. Their K rate against righties, I want to say, is about 19.9%. This is what I was writing up yesterday. I'm doing it off the dome. But they are, not patient. Also, one thing about Yuri Perez, it's like different than a lot of prospects. He's got control. Like typically, a lot of these prospects have a big arm, but they're wild. he's got a big arm, and he's actually his walk rate's fine. So, and Washington again, their power numbers, I think they're dead last in ISO. Now I'm just kind of scrolling and pulling it up because I'm getting it apart with a little blurb I wrote up for him. But all right, why can't I find this? My apologies. I should have been prepared. Okay, yeah. So 19.9% Ks versus righties. They get that right. So ISO to power versus righties this season for Washington, dead last. Their walk rate 28%. The 28th. WRC plus is 27th. Their WOA is 27th. They just signed. I don't know if you saw this. It's gonna all turn around. Franmil Reyes was just signed by Washington, and it's gonna change going forward. Hopefully he doesn't crack the lineup today. I don't know how quick they turn that around. Good for Franmil sticking around.
He keeps landing in spots. They can't get rid of this guy.
No. But who is it? Cleveland that DFA'd him last year? Was it Cleveland?
Cleveland did, but he was with somebody else too.
Yes, somebody picked him up and
Kansas City, right?
That's who it was. Yeah. These are the last stops, by the way. I'm not trying to kick the guy out of the league, but Washington and Kansas City are kind of the last stops. That's it. I guess Oakland, maybe. Is Oakland even? Did they even look at the waiver wire? I don't know. Are they an organization that even takes advantage of such things? Couldn't tell you. But he was picked up by Washington today. We have no Washington lineup just yet. Why do we not have a Washington lineup or a Baltimore lineup? I'm kind of spoiled by, Baltimore's the game starts at 12:35, so about an hour and change. I guess Washington's 2 hours, so that's excusable. Sure, why not? But we do not have all the lineups.
We just got a Guardians lineup: Quan, Rosario, Jimenez, Bell, Brennan, Arias, Rochio, Gallagher, and Straw. So no Naylor and no Ramirez again. So really awful lineup for Cleveland once again.
So that's a good right on cue, because Dylan Cease is going to be the most popular pitcher in the slate. The absence of J-Ram, the absence of Naylor. I think that I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. The third baseman for Cleveland. How do you pronounce that? You want to take a shot at it?
I thought it was Rochio, but I don't know.
I believe he's one of their top prospects. He was called up recently. But, two of their best hitters, and Dylan Cease, we're looking at 53% ownership on DK. On FanDuel, Cease, we're looking at, 48%? And we have the salary, right? Is one of the big, we have the money, so you might as well play him instead of Trevor Williams or Tyler McGill, right? I like that we have the three kids on this slate too, like Logan Allen, Taj Bradley, another big time prospect for Tampa who pitched pretty well for Tampa and then was sent down for some reason. Who am I to question Tampa? They're much sharper than I am, but I don't know if they had excess arms or maybe they don't. Well, he was pitching down in AAA, so I'm not really sure why he was demoted. Maybe there just wasn't a spot for him anymore. But theoretically, big arm there. He's one of the more highly touted prospects. But yeah. The pitchers of the future today, Yuri Perez, Logan Allen, and Taj Bradley on this slate. This year, Dylan Cease hasn't been great, right? If you look at the straight ERA, it's almost 5. The Ks are pretty good, but not amazing. 25.2% is pretty good. The walk rate's too high at 10.4%. Fly ball guy. Cleveland, I imagine it's not a contact-heavy lineup. I'm sorry, it's not a strikeout-heavy lineup, just as Cleveland tends to go. There's no Zunino in there. You like to see him in there for Ks, but I think Gallagher is kind of a strikeout guy too, right? Straw, not so.
Gallagher is so bad, but I don't know what his key rate is.
I don't know. I was thinking of the comedian when you start talking about him, but that's a different guy entirely. With the watermelons, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. His whole gimmick, he had many gimmicks, but he was kind of like a hippie, and he smashed watermelons on the stage. If you're in the front row, the second row, you're like a poncho to put a. No, none of this is ringing a bell.
What was his name?
His name was Gallagher.
Oh no, I don't know that one, Dean. I'm gonna have to YouTube. Can I do that? Can I YouTube it now on the show or?
Yeah, sure. You can multitask. Sure, why not?
All right.
I don't know why I remember a Gallagher joke in my. Why do they call them apartments when they're all stuck together? I don't know why I have a Gallagher joke stuck in my head. You park on the driveway and you drive on the.
You really are the almanac, Dean. You really are. I mean, it's more than just DFS and sports. It's just everything.
Devin, by the way, Devin in chat just chimed in. He said that was before my time, and I still know about Gallagher. The most interesting thing about Gallagher is his act was so popular. It was so it drew so much money. He had a brother, also named Gallagher, because that was his name, who stole his act and toured as Gallagher. And just pretended he was Gallagher. And he had to sue his brother. It's a whole thing. Go on the Wikipedia. It's a really interesting, you'll have a good 5 minutes. Probably not in the show. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. By all means, if you're really good at multitasking. But can we get a GIF? Come on. Producer Steve can find a GIF of Gallagher smashing a watermelon. That's got to be in the GIF repertoire. That was his whole – he had this giant mallet. I believe it was called a sledge-o-matic. I don't know why I know this. All right, we shall move on. I'm so easily distracted sometimes. But, all right. So Dylan Cease, are we just going to eat that chalk and just play Dylan Cease because we have the money and that's that?
I don't think you have to in tournaments. I think he's completely fine if you want to be underweight. I think if I'm making 3 teams, I might put him in 1. I don't think I would recommend a full fade, but I don't think he's an all-in must-play, smash play unless you're playing
right on cue. Right on cue
that
you said smash and the watermelon was smashed, but go ahead. I got excited.
Sosa is so good at his job. I mean, he's just outstanding producer. Yeah. I don't think he's some kind of lock or anything. If you're playing cash games, then yeah, he's definitely your SB1. That's fine. But I'm kind of worried about his ownership. I'm a little bit worried about his ceiling. I'm worried about his walks.
Yeah.
That's a real red flag for me. I'm not thrilled about it. I'm only playing single entries. Am I going to play him? Probably, but I'm not 100% committed to it. It's just we're so deprived of other options, and if he gets you 15, that's probably going to be okay. And of course he could really have a great game against this terrible Cleveland lineup. So I don't really have an issue with it, but if people want to fade because of ownership, I have no problem with that.
So we're looking at 22.6% collectively as far as strikeouts this Cleveland lineup versus righties this season. Of course, Quan, he of the no barrels or 1 barrel. I think he has 1 barrel far this season.
He's got 1 barrel as of yesterday's show because you brought it up and you were pretty excited when you found that 1 barrel.
I didn't know what happened. I have an alert on my phone usually whenever a barrel happens. And yeah, so he's obviously annoying because he doesn't strike out at all. Bell has made a pretty fair bit a contact as well at 16%. But it's a small sample as far as areas, but he's been really strikeout heavy. Gallagher comes in at 26% for what it's worth there. Cease 25.5% Ks this year, 10.4% walks. I think I'm going to play. I mean, again, it's not a lock button situation, but it's just I probably have the money, and who's going to beat him? Give me that sales pitch. Who's most likely to beat him?
That's the toughest part about fading him. But I mean, I honestly, I know you're down on Wells, but I think Wells could beat him. Perez could beat him. McGill's been awful. He's projecting really well on the bat though. So I mean, it's 7,200. I think Miguel could beat him. I think Taj Bradley, who we haven't talked about, I think he could beat him. I mean, we've seen Bradley have humongous strikeout games in his incredibly small sample size in the big leagues. That's not who he is, but he is a top prospect. So I think Bradley could beat him. So I think there are 4 guys that could realistically beat Dylan Cease today.
Yeah, Bradley this year, grain of salt, 15 innings, right? 15 in the third. I don't want to cheat him with that one out, but 38.3% Ks, which is obviously spectacular, but I don't think that's sustainable, like you said. And the swinging strike rate, 11.5%, also suggests that K rate is pretty goofy. But, he does come with pedigree and he does have a big arm. So, there is some upside there for sure. We're still waiting for the Mets, right? No Mets lineup just yet?
No Mets.
Yeah. But shout out to producer Steve. We were talking to him pre-show. I don't know if he wants to come on and just take us through the emotional swing last night. But Steve, big Mets fan, loves his Mets. Of course, the Mets, if you were watching, they had a dramatic comeback last night. And he loves his Mets so much. And I don't know if he was trying to pull a reverse jinx or whatever. He mentioned in the show yesterday, he bet the Rays. And maybe that's an emotional hedge. But and I guess he was not even able to enjoy the walk-off victory because, Steve, take us through that because, your Mets won and it was your best victory of the year probably, walk-off homer from the Polar Bear.
It was definitely the best win of the season. Of course, they've been so bad. I said on the show the Rays had value plus money, and I was gonna take it, and I am the mush. I took it, and this is getting the Mets their win. So all Mets fans, you're welcome.
So what are you doing today?
You want me to mush?
Yeah, Sosa's in peak mush form right now for everyone listening. So make sure to pay attention to what he's got today.
I had the Celtics money line.
We weren't even going to bring that up, Sosa. We were going to bring that up, but thank you for bringing that up.
I'll take donations. Anyone wants to donate me, I'll wager it for you, and I'll have that team lose for you.
It's a good gig. It's a good gig if you can get it for sure.
What am I? The cooler?
Yes.
Yeah,
there you go.
You're the cooler.
William H. Macy. There you go. We had you watch that movie.
Yeah,
we got a Baltimore lineup. It's Hayes, Rauschman, Mountcastle, Santander, McCann, McKenna, Mateo, Henderson, and Ortiz. So no Mullins.
No Mullins. Come on, really? We're afraid of Tyler Anderson, who's terrible left on left. I mean, we're just giving him a day off, I suppose. But that's how much of a downgrade is that for you? Because Mullins was, just as far as like best hitters, like before you kind of dig into stuff, one of the best hitters in this league.
I was just making my FanDuel lineup, and I had Mullins in, of course, and the lineup just came out.
Yeah,
there you go.
Got to redo all that. Yeah,
you were the cooler on Mullins. You didn't even know it.
I can't win.
TJ said if he wins a GPP today, he'll send you $100 for your betting fund. There you go. I'll send you a 101. And is that loonies and toonies? We want the American dollars, TJ. You got to clarify. It's just unless otherwise noted, it's assumed to be American. There you go. But I'm happy to do the same. I'll donate 101. I'm going to one up TJ for sure. Steven wants to know about Logan Allen. Well, what do you think of Logan Allen here? He's obviously another prospect here for Cleveland, facing a White Sox team that most of us aren't very impressed by the White Sox. We don't have a lineup. We do have a lineup. Yeah, Anderson, Vaughn, Robert Berger homered last night, got moved up in the lineup against the lefty. So a little bit different shuffle. No Sheets. Sheets got ejected last night. He was getting jobbed by the umpire. It was a terrible call. Grandal, Benintendi. Benintendi, by the way, one of 5 players this year that have the qualified amount of bats, that is yet to homer. And I think 3 of them were like free agent signings. Can you name the other ones? Does any of us come to your mind? Because we talked about another one yesterday. He can barely get a double these days. So I'll let you think about that for a second.
What was the question again?
So there's 5 hitters that have they've reached like the qualifying number of bats, that have yet to hit a home run this season. Well, one of them is Benintendi. And he was a free agent signing there by Chicago. Another one was a free agent signing, former Chicago player who we were kind of like dogging, who has no power anymore. It's just kind of zapped and it's gone. I think, trying to think of the other ones were. I think the other one might be Quan. I think Quan has 0 homers, right? Has he homered yet?
Well, it'd have to be that one barrel. I don't know.
Yes, TJ has answered the question. Jose Abreu is yet to homer for Houston. Benintendi, the Chicago's, I was going to say big free agent acquisition. It was a free agent acquisition. He's batting 6th today. Alberto 7th, Zavala, and then Jake Marisnik batting 9th. Former Marlin, former Astro. I didn't know Marisnik was on the White Sox. Has he been playing for them all season long? Have I just missed this?
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that either until I saw him in the lineup. I was like, "Oh, that's where he landed." Yeah, I didn't know that.
He's got a good arm, but that doesn't help you in DFS, unfortunately. Still waiting on the Mets. Still waiting on the Nats. Nats lineup's not going to be very good. And then we have the Mets should be pretty good. Should be pretty solid lineup. You were saying
we just got a Mets lineup, so it's Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, Alonso, Beatty, Pham, Vogelbach, Escobar, Perez.
So we have, let's see. So the rookie yesterday that hit the 2K guy, he's not in the lineup, right?
He's
trying to figure who's not there.
Correct. He's not in.
And the DH Alvarez, who catches sometimes and DHs sometimes, he's also not in there. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Just trying to see what's different, who we may have anticipated. But I guess that makes sense.
Marte is out. Pham is in.
Yeah. Vogelbach has not been very good this year too. I see there. Steven's talking about they insist on playing Vogelbach. Yeah, left on right, and he probably gets the hook up a lefty comes in as the DH, but he hasn't been good. Marte has not been good. I guess the Mets overall have not been very good. Outside of I think the Polar Bears have been pretty good. Alonso. Still just waiting on Washington, and then we'll have all of our lineups. Have you settled as far as pitcher? Has anything changed based upon these lineups coming out, or on DK got a roster too? 25% of these guys.
We had a question on Logan Allen. I think he's okay, just because we have such small sample size on him, but we have small sample size on a lot of these guys. I kind of like the White Sox today, but Allen, I don't think Logan Allen's going to be very highly owned, and I think he can get through this lineup because this lineup is pretty bad. He kind of falls pretty low, like below obviously Cease and Wells and Perez for me, but I don't really hate the play, so I think you can do it if you want to. And I think that the White Sox are going to have a little bit of ownership because like Luis Roberts projecting really well. People are going to want to go to like Jake Berger for value, so yeah, it's a good way to maybe get a little bit of leverage off of those chalky White Sox value guys. And like Andrew Vaughn, I'd imagine, is going to have a little bit of ownership too. So I don't hate it. It's just I would prefer you do it in like a large field GPP setting.
All right. Trying to see if there's anything else of note that we may have missed in chat as far as pitchers. We'll talk stacks in a second. Do you want to give the summary when it comes to pitchers? And like you said before, it's Wells is going to be popular. He's certainly a guy that could beat. He could be the top pitcher in the slate, and it wouldn't be shocking. His luck could continue going forward. And yeah, that was just a stand. I'm not banging the table saying like, he's going to get smashed today by the Angels. This Angels team obviously pretty top heavy. I was hoping Ward would be in there. No Ward, so that it kind of weakens them a bit. But I like Trout, Ohtani, Renfroe, Drury a good bit. The rest of it's kind of nonsense, but if you're stacking it up, sure, why not? But that's
we did get a Nationals lineup. It's Garcia, Thomas, Candelario, Dickerson, Ruiz, Smith, Alou, Abrams, and Call.
Alou.
Jake Alou, I think. I don't know how to pronounce it. ALU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I'm not sure. I don't know much about him. Corey Dickerson batting cleanup. That's interesting. So yeah,
it's a revenge game.
Yeah, that's good.
Former Marlin.
That's a good point.
He can, historically he's had power versus righties, but I think it's kind of the end of the line for Dickerson. Just pulled up. Let's see, Jake Alou. At least according to Fangraphs, he's a 22nd ranked prospect in the Washington organization. Age 26, 24th round pick. Is he even in the player pool? I think he's like 10 at bats.
He's 2,300 on. I think he's 2,300.
Very little power, not much speed. A little bit of speed. This year in AAA, 26 games, 2 homers. 3 stolen bases. Going back to last year in AAA, 240 plate appearances, 11 homers, 6 stolen bases. So, yeah, this doesn't seem how does he strike out? He actually projects to be a pretty good contact hitter. Pretty good is relative, I suppose. The bats got him projected to strike out at 20.7% in the majors, which typically these kind of guys are going to be like 25, 26, 27. So it's not like perfect for Yuri Perez because this Washington lineup is, kind of contact heavy, which is the one hiccup, I suppose. What's his walk rate? Projected this to walk at 5.8%, so not terribly patient. Of course, I'm not running away from Yuri Perez. I was just curious. We have the time. I was curious who Jake Alou is. Andrew wants to know, we're getting into stacks now. I've already kind of voiced my the Angels are my favorite stack in the slate, and that's that. And favorites relative because you got to pick one, right? You got to rank them, and they have a team total below 4, which is pretty paltry. Did want to check Weather Edge, by the way, because go ahead.
Nothing of note at Weather Edge. Nothing of note in terms of weather. Really, seems like a pretty neutral day in terms of weather. It's 70 degrees in Chicago, but Weather Edge didn't really show much of an advantage either way. It seemed pretty neutral, so it's nothing going on really on the weather front.
Did want to mention, if you want access to Weather Edge and all the other fabulous tools we have here at RotoGrinders, 13 minutes to get in now. You can get yourself 1 week free. RotoGrinders Premium. How can you get that? How do I win that? And it's all the sports. You could have had the golf for today. Did you dabble in the golf, or you play? And it's a major, right?
I sure did. Oh yeah, I play golf every week. Last I looked, not going great for me. So I'm not going to look.
Did it just start?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it's a tough scene for me today. So
did you start tilting golf like straight away, like the first hole? Like if you get a bogey and that's it, you're already you're chasing it the rest of the way.
I tilt golf more than I tilt any other sport. Like I'm full blown Sosa on golf. Like I just hate everyone. As soon as my guy hits it in the rough, I'm like, I'm done. I can't watch it anymore.
Can you tweet through it? Because I want you to tweet more. Can you whenever you're upset with your golfers?
No, I'm not gonna start tweeting. I've gone this long, Dean. I'm not gonna start now. So
fair enough. Roth's going to be away for like a week or 10 days or so. He dropped this. They dropped this on me yesterday. I was not expecting it. Common courtesy. I feel like he should have run this by me, but he didn't. But thankfully, there's I assume he told somebody. I'm not the guy to tell. Obviously, it doesn't matter what I say. But thankfully, not a lot of goofy weather out there lurking. But he said that there's going to be somebody filling in for him. I don't know if you heard this, right? Like somebody's going to be filling in for him. They're like a contracted license. They have all the certification. They have a diploma hanging up on their wall as far as being a meteorologist. I guess he can't disclose who it is, but there will be somebody doing weather.
We have an anonymous source doing our weather for the next 10 days. So that'll be interesting. Who knows?
Yeah, so
who knows? Maybe it's me, Dean. I mean, maybe
it's just
me. I don't know.
Well, Kirkwood was the chalk. We thought it might be Kirkwood.
Oh, yeah, that's actually a good idea. We should have Kirkwood do it. I'd love to see Kirkwood with a green screen, like a radar behind him, trying to like point us, and showing us all the dew point models and wind. Yeah, we should do that.
You think he can pull it off? You think he can make it work?
I think he could. I think he would.
Okay.
I think he would tilt his way through it.
Yeah. I just pulled up Weather Edge as well, by the way, and nothing really jumping off the page. A slight negatives basically everywhere, or neutral essentially as far as hitting today. Yeah, so if you want access to Weather Edge, if you want access to the lineup HQ tool, the Plate IQ, all the stuff we kind of reference, all the kind of stuff all the things you see on screen, and much, much more. The expert survey, Dave Potts' article, the musings, too much time to list it all, but there's a whole bunch. Just go in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Just jump in there and put a thumb up, and then all of a sudden, you're going to be, your name is going to appear on the wheel. It's going to be on the wheel. Producer's team's going to spin it in about 10 minutes or so. There it is right there on the screen. Join the free Discord. Now, again, if you're a premium member, there are some premium channels. This happens to be one of the free channels. All right. So I want you all to be eligible. We'll spin it in 10 minutes. Talk to me about stacks. Who do you like today as far as stacks? There's 8 teams. Are you obligated to stack? Is that something you feel like you have to do? I saw somebody in chat earlier ask, this is always a fun question, can you roster a hitter versus your pitcher? I think you can.
I think you can today. Yeah. Small slate like this, I think you can. My favorite stack is Baltimore. But I mean, with Cedric Mullins out, it's kind of like feels weird. But I still think getting to some of these cheapish righties is okay. I'm with you. I don't mind the Angels. They're our top optimal stack in our stacks tool.
Oh,
yeah. So, and they're coming in with some really nice positive leverage too. So, seems like the field's not going to be on them. Seems like ownership's going to be really flocking to Baltimore, some Miami, some Tampa Bay. So you might get some leverage on the field by going to the Angels, but I think the Angels are going to be a little heavier owned than what we have. But still, they're in a great spot. So. Baltimore is my personal favorite. And then I like the White Sox just for salary relief, like, getting to Berger, Vaughn, Roberts too cheap on DK. Like, he's 4,100, but that's still too cheap for someone as skilled as he is, despite his 0 yesterday. I got a 0 from Robert and a 0 from Jordan, and I missed by 5. Yeah, it was pretty.
Jordan had the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth too. I'm sure. I don't know if you're sweating that out. If
Thanks,
you caught
Dean.
that.
I didn't even know that. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and it led to Tucker having a walk-off single with a couple RBIs, and that vaulted me to second.
You're so good. You're so good, Dean. I wish I could be as good as you one day.
No, please. I wish I could be as good as you. Yeah, come on. You talked about yesterday the amount of money you would spend on some slates, and I don't sniff that. I'm more. Yeah. I never was that guy.
I mean, it's volatile though, Dean. I mean, it's an up and down life that we live.
Yeah, I don't know if I can take the stress of that, to be honest. But by the way, I see TJ in chat. He's saying Spidey will give his first Spidey bomb at 75 likes. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that as well. And turn on those notifications so you know when we go live. You're probably like, maybe, wait, they're doing a show for just 4 games? Yes, we're doing a show for just 4 games. Plenty of money to be made. And TJ, by the way, is touting his boy Whit Merrifield. And not to get into sensitive areas, but he was saying how great Whit Merrifield is at barreling the ball. And, he has so many more barrels than Stephen Kwan. He's got one more. He's got 2 barrels. So congratulations, Whit Merrifield. You have 2 barrels. He's got 2 more barrels than you do, Tim. So, I wouldn't get too excited about Whit Merrifield. By all means, chat, fire off your questions, whatever's in your mind. We'll fire off some homers, too. I got a couple on layaway, I think. Let's see. We can figure it out on the fly. Why not? And, of course, I'm going to pick on – I'm definitely going to be picking on Wells. Does it bother you, like, you talk about that Baltimore stack, like, if the situation calls for it, basically 100% Mullins is coming in. If it is bases loaded and Hayes is at the plate and a righty's up, righty's throwing the baseballs, bottom of the 7th, whatever it is, Hayes is just gone. He's out of the game. That's it. He's done. Yeah. Shower.
But I think it has to be that scenario. Like, obviously, I think they're going to try to get McKenna out, right? Like, I don't think they actively seek to get Hayes out, but yeah, you're right. If it's bases loaded, bottom of the 9th, Mullins is coming in for Hayes, which kind of stinks. I agree with you. I still really like getting to the righties of Baltimore, and I like how they're priced. Like they're not super expensive, other than Rauschman, but I think that I think they're my favorite stat on the slate.
By the way, good question in chat from Kurt. A small slate like this one, and it's sort of dependent upon like how salary is delegated and how much you actually need it. But I think this is a good question for this slate. Is this a good time to leave salary on the table? If so, like how much are you willing to leave? Would you leave, 2,000, 3,000, 1,500? Well, what's the, if you're making it theoretically,
probably not 2,000, but I'd say like, 1,200 would be fine. 1,000 definitely. I think 2,000 might be too ambitious, but I'm not sure. That's a great question for Cheese or even TJ, just because I don't play a lot of lineups, and I never have really, so I'm not a great MME guy to ask strategy advice, but definitely 1,000, definitely.
Well, like if you're and they'll probably cover this too, right? Dave and TJ will be on. If you're stacking the Marlins or you're stacking Washington, like you can't spend the money. I guess suppose like your other 3 guys or your secondary stack, however you're doing it. And then that's how like Mike Trout's is going to get so much ownership when Ohtani might get so much ownership just because.
That's why I think the Angels are going to be higher owned than what we have them as, because a lot of these stacks you can't spend the money, so everyone's going to just be like, give me Ohtani, give me Trout, whatever. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying like I think that's going to kind of like naturally bring up the Angels ownership.
And it comes down to like, do you want to roster Mike Trout or do you want to save, 2,000 and roster like I don't know, Corey Dickerson or whatever. I mean, I know the math is a little bit different, but like, and that's why like maybe it's Devin in chat talking about making 20 entry max lineups, especially in a slate like today. There are some combinations of stacks and pitchers you simply can't build to use almost all your salary. So I'm curious, with the lineup builder, you can sort of you can manipulate it and say, I want to have it so we can open it up where you say you can not use 2,000 or 2,500. So I'm curious how people are attacking it. I'm just like you. I'm making a few lineups today, and that's that. And I like the single entry, 3 entry max stuff mostly. I'll throw it in the big boy stuff just in case if I hit something completely ridiculous, I want to get paid off on it. But that's not the point of me making that lineup. Jose's got a question in chat. You're playing cash today? I know you like your cash games.
I am, yeah. Cease and Perez for me for cash.
Okay, yeah. Are you playing cash on FanDuel?
I am not, but I can look at stuff. Yeah. I always play cash on DK, but yeah. What was the question?
Well, I was just going to ask your FanDuel pitcher for cash. It's probably Cease. I think it's Cease.
It's still Cease.
Yeah, but Jose wants to know Perez or Bradley for cash. Okay, you picked Perez over Bradley. Andrew says, what about your thoughts as far as the Angels? Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking that too last night. I was thinking that's my favorite game on the slate. But I know that term is kind of frowned upon, the old game stack term, because, they don't really have anything to do with each other. If it's an incredible hitting environment and the weather is awesome, then it just sort of happens organically. And I mean, if you can predict a 6-6 game going into the, we were going to grab some extra innings or something like that. But, yeah, how do you feel about the Angels-Baltimore game stack? I don't know if you look at things that way.
I don't look at things like that. I think that's kind of I don't like that term. But yeah, obviously both teams are in a really good spot. If you stack them together, that's fine because independently they're both very, very strong stacks. They're probably definitely, they're probably the best 2 stacks on the board. So yeah, I don't mind it at all.
I'm not sure it's been cut off or not as far as to get in on the week free of RG Premium. We're going to be spinning that wheel in just a second. If you can get it in the last second, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Jump into the live stream chat channel. Just put in a thumbs up, and producer Steve may have time to squeeze your name onto that wheel. We're going to spin the wheel momentarily. Frederick wants to know ownership on FanDuel. FanDuel, I presume he's asking about pitchers. It wasn't specified. We're looking at Cease at 48%, Yuri Perez at 20%, Wells at 10%, Allen at 7%. Yeah, but I didn't acknowledge Tyler Anderson's existence. You like Baltimore, so I know Anderson's really cheap, but I don't know if I need that salary. And also, he's kind of terrible. It's like his walk rate is almost as high as his K rate. 14.4% Ks this year, 10.9% walks. I'm not playing Tyler Anderson. I don't think I need him.
I have no interest in Anderson. I don't even know how much I'd get to if I was playing 150. I guess you have to have him in the pool just because today's so weak. Not a lot of options. But boy, would I be way, way, way underweight on him. I think this is such a good spot for Baltimore. I mean, Cardi has the middle of the pack. So I mean, take that for what you want. Cardi's got him rated better than Perez. I really like Baltimore today. So I would take a firm stance on getting away from Anderson. That's easy for me to say though, because I'm only making one team. But it's not a spot that I want to attack. I mean, it is a spot for bats. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I was going to let people know that the crunch time's coming in 10 minutes or so. They're going to go around the horn. If you're not aware how that works, you should know at this point. If not, no worries. They're going to give their favorite plays position by position, catcher, first, second, outfield, the whole deal. Favorite pitchers, that's TJ Zwarych and Dave Potts, 2-time millionaire winner. Cheeseisgood. I believe Justin Carlucci will be hosting that. Ownership in FanDuel, we just discussed that. We should bring on producer Steve. Let's spin that wheel. Steve, what's going on? How How are things? Do we have? Was there any last second submissions? Did I throw you off with the wheel? Because hopefully, I imagine it was prepared and we're good to go.
Yeah, we just got like 3 last second ones that I just got added. I'm just double checking. And all right, if you didn't make it now, that's it. All right, so here we go. Let's see who
All
this
right.
winner is.
Tim, what color is the chalk? Tim, what color are you betting on here? But what's your analysis as the wheels being spun? You got to be quick. Well, green is the chalk.
Deuteronomy. All right.
Sweet. Deuteronomy. I imagine I see Devin lurking. Devin usually hooks us up. Producer Devin, if you don't mind, slide to those DMs and Deuteronomy. Devin's going to hook you up with a week free.
That's our friend Frederick Doot in chat.
Oh, is it? That makes sense.
If I had to guess, I'm not sure. But congratulations.
Frederick is just asking me, what's the ownership look like on FanDuel for? Well, now you can look yourself. There you go. You got a week to check it out. Awesome. And good luck with that. And if you have any questions as far as how you come back, we're always happy to discuss. There's a lot of different things to look at, a lot of different ways. And somebody was making fun of me yesterday. It might have been you, Tim, for learning like the new tools. Like, oh wait, I didn't even know that existed. Like, sometimes things just kind of pop up. Like, I didn't know we can do that, or somehow I missed it.
Probably wasn't me. Probably wasn't me, Dean. I'm real bad on the using the tools here, so probably wasn't me.
Well, because you're not making 100 lineups or 200 lineups, whatever it may be.
That's why I probably wasn't making fun of you, because I'm probably the worst.
Is there a tool like obviously you're not making using the optimizer and running a bunch of lineups that way, but is there something you do use? I imagine you're running.
I always use Slate IQ. I always use the top MLB stacks tool because I want to know the Sims, what the Sims are saying. I think that's our best tool. So I always use those two tools, and then I always look at lineup HQ. So I want to see what the guy, people are tagging. But that's about it for me. And I always read cheese and I always read raw. So.
Do you run optimals just to kind of see what you might be up against as far as cash games? And then sometimes you agree and sometimes you don't agree, right? It's like it's a little tricky, right?
Yeah. In baseball, I never want to play like quote unquote the optimal. Sometimes in basketball, I do because I don't think that you could really expect like a better team. But in baseball, I'm a little bit more all over the place in cash games because I'm not going to just play the optimal lineup in baseball.
We did mention, Andrew's asking if we mentioned that Wells is a reverse splits guy. Yes. Wells has been reverse splitsy. We can check this out in the Plate IQ. I can confirm. But this season, Wells versus lefties. Let's see. Maybe is it his entire career? Is it the bigger sample? I was looking at this yesterday, and I know Cardi even had a reverse splits guy as well. Maybe is it a smaller sample this season? Now I feel. Or neutral? What do you think Wells is? I think he's reverse splitsy to neutral.
He is.
Yeah, I know Cardi labeled him as reverse splitsy as well.
Large reverse, according to Cardi. We're talking about Wells, right?
Yeah.
Large reverse.
Which is probably good for that ballpark because we know how ridiculous left field is there now. Yeah. Kind of protected by righty power pulling it. It's like the reverse of the Crawford boxes there in Houston or the monster out there in Boston. But it is what it is. It's a 4-game slate. What are you going to do? James says, looking at Slate IQ, you don't like Anderson. What are your thoughts? I don't think you're on Anderson, right? Is there something on Slate IQ that's suggesting that you should pitch Anderson?
He might be showing up with some strong positive leverage. I'm not sure. Let me pull it up. I just really like Baltimore today. So.
Oh boy, this is a rough question from Jared on DK. You got to roster a catcher. You're flat out punting it. You want Chad Wallach or Nick Fortes?
Oh.
And I think is this for cash?
There's no wrong answer to that question.
Right.
I don't hear that one.
I don't really know.
Is there a correct answer for that question? That was the other counterpoint. It's not good. It's pretty ugly.
I guess Wallach is who I would pick. but I don't really
Hold your
have any
nose.
conviction. Yeah, I don't have really any conviction either way.
Hey,
I
Dave,
just
quick
got here,
question.
but all I hear is Tim loves Wallach today. All right, what's the question?
Quick question. We were talking about this earlier. You run a bunch of lineups. I know TJ can answer this question as well. I'm curious your thoughts. This 4-gamer, there's not a lot of places to spend salary. How much money are you leaving yourself open to leaving? 2K, 3K, 1,500, 1,000, and when it comes down to it, it's like, well, do I want to play? Now I have the money for Ohtani. Do I want Ohtani or do I want Corey Dickerson? I guess I want Ohtani because I have the salary, but it's baseball. Have you put any sort of rules in play as far as
Yes.
how much money you're willing to leave on the table?
Yeah, and you got to force yourself to leave it. So I've got a bunch of lineups with between 2,500 and 3K left. And yeah, it's really hard to look at a lineup that has like Will Brennan and not just upgrade him to Mike Trout. But if you're doing like 50 lineups on a 4-game slate, you have to do that in some of them. I mean, that's just, I don't know if you have to. That's how I'm doing it. Just plug your nose and do it.
Yeah, lean into the silliness of baseball, and that's that. TJ, similar approach for you?
Yeah, I'm doing something fairly similar today. I have my rules set in lineup HQ that it can leave up to 1,800 right now. Having said that, I'll be like going through them and hand adjusting some of them, and there's a very good chance that a lot of them end up leaving even more salary than that on the table.
Justin, are you playing the role of Kevin Roth for the next week plus going forward, or is this going to be like a rotating cast of characters?
It's going to be a rotating cast of characters, and I guess I'm just hitting leadoff today. I don't know how to even start being Kevin Roth. I don't know anything about weather.
All you got to do is get on base. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah,
we can hit you with a pitch if you need to. Yeah,
I can do that.
Do you have a paper ball to crumble up? Maybe is that you might need at the end of the show? That might be useful. Does he still do that? No, the paper ball's gone, right? The whole crunching thing. Did he retire that bit? I think it's over, right?
I think he got tired. I think he ran out of paper. He's like, I'm not going to the store just so I can do this thing.
Just wasting paper. The big recycle came after him. They slid into his DMs and they're very upset. All right, Tim. Anything else before we step aside and get out of here and make way for the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time?
Nope. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Tim. And thank you to everybody out there watching. And do stay tuned. It's starting right now. It's the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time. You got the Luch, you have TJ, you have Dave Potts. Luch, take it away.
What a fantastic job from the GrindersLive crew, as usual. I'm not Kevin Roth. I don't have an IPA. It's too early for that. I have orange Powerade and a super coffee. A little sick here. Oh, you can't see it because my screen is just glitching out there. I'm not Kevin Roth, but I do magic, apparently. Woo.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Anyway,
Kirkwood's in the chat, so please, he's going to drop in some notes about barometric pressure as we move on. So don't feel like you need to do that. We've got him on standby, so we're good.
All right, good to know. How you doing, Mr. Cheese? What's up?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to see this weird little 4-game slate early Thursday. This is a nonsense slate. Like, it was a pretty weak, weird 4-gamer, and then a whole bunch of guys are not even playing. It's but hey, we all have the same slate, so we'll make it work.
Yeah, TJ, we didn't get the exact lineups we anticipated. That's for sure today.
We didn't, but I don't even want to talk about baseball yet because we got a lot of time to cover 4 games. I missed you, man. Like, it's we went from doing 3 shows together every week to never seeing each other. It's good to see you.
Hey, it's really great to see you too. I know you're all the way up there in Canada, and I haven't made my way up there recently or ever. So
take your choice, recently or ever.
Look, as Roth was saying, later this week, Saskatoon's going to be like the warmest place in North America. So if you guys ever want to come visit, you can stay in the house I bought with my DFS winnings, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, I'll pass. I appreciate the offer, but I'm just kidding. I missed you too, man. But anyway, this is a nonsense slate, so I might as well just dish some nonsense around here. But before we get to the nonsense, hey, Chief has a new show. If you're into props, pick'ems on Underdog, Prize Picks, whatever site you're playing on, the man from the prop shop has a new show, 10:30 Eastern, live every weekday. And he'll bring on some guests from time to time as well. So check out the new show with the guy, Will Priester, Chief Justice 06, weekdays, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. One more note here. FanDuel, of course, if you're in a legal sports betting state and you're not on FanDuel Sportsbook, what are you doing? Get in there, get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. And you're missing out if you're not signed up on FanDuel Sportsbook yet. That's all I got for you. We'll get that nonsense out of the way to get to even more. And yeah, pitching just full of nonsense today. Typically, I wouldn't say that with a guy like Dylan Cease on the slate, but kind of, what version of Dylan Cease are we going to get today, Cheese? What are your thoughts on FanDuel pitching?
My thought is there is no slate, and this slate answers the question of, is there any slate where I like Dylan Cease chalk? And it's a no. Like, there just isn't. Don't take that to mean I'm not playing any Dylan Cease on a 4-game slate. But officially, like, he's like my 4th highest owned pitcher. I'm well under a third of my lineups with Cease. I just don't trust him. And I mean, who knows? Well, like, that's the whole point with Dylan Cease. But even with the nonsense Cleveland lineup, they don't strike out. Cease can throw like 800 pitches in an inning and he's done. And he's going to be so chalky just because of what the slate is. I very officially don't like it.
TJ, do you officially like Dylan Cease or no?
I officially have 0 Dylan Cease today in not 150 lineups, just 50 lineups for me today. I X'd him out of the pool. Just going to be a way for me to get a little bit different today, and I don't trust him either. And if he's going to be 50% owned on DraftKings today, I figured, you know what? X button. I don't really feel that great about any of the other options, but I'm getting a ton of Perez, and then mixing in Wells, Bradley, Allen, and Anderson. We have reached enough likes, though, for Spidey Bomb number 1. So I'm ready to dish that out. We got only 17 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2. So hit that like button. Let's get them out. YouTube's been a little odd lately. You might have to refresh for the like button to show up. But hammer that like button for us. And we have Spidey Bomb number 1 over on our sponsor, FanDuel, their sportsbook. They have plus 450 for Hunter Renfroe going against the reverse splitsy Tyler Wells. And Hunter Renfroe is Spidey Bomb number 1 today.
Yeah, I mean, it is a gift for Cease to not have to deal with Ramirez, Josh Naylor. I mean, the bottom of that lineup is ugly, but again, ownership playing a big factor in determining what you want to do, with Dylan Cease. And, there are some fun young arms on this slate. You have Taj Bradley, who is all the way up at 10K, and he was pretty damn good during his brief stint. Everyone was just appalled when Tampa Bay decided to send him down. And I want to talk about him because he's been absurdly bad in his handful of starts since he's been back with AAA. And is there anything either of you have picked up on that, is there something wrong with him, or is it just a young pitcher going through some things? Could it be a confidence thing? Either way, 10K is a pretty hefty price tag against the Mets. So it doesn't look like the public's going there. Mr. Potts, do you have any thoughts on Taj Bradley?
I do. And with the caveat that I have no idea. Right. But I think it's reasonable enough to think that he was also disappointed and confused that he got sent down in the minors after just absolutely dominating in 3 starts. Like, imagine you're a kid and you spent your whole life thinking, I'm going to pitch Major League Baseball. You finally get called up and you're like an elite ace and you mow through 3 Major League lineups. And then they're like, hey, we're going to send you back down. Maybe that's it. His first start down, he just got shellacked, gave up like 8 runs in an inning. I don't know, but I can give him a pass on it, honestly. The issue is he's super expensive compared to the other upside kids on the slate, and he is going to be limited. Like the chances of him throwing more than 85 pitches are pretty close to 0. So I still don't really like him because of the salary, but I can make up enough reasons why maybe there's nothing wrong with him, and it was just give him a pass on the minor league numbers and say he was really good. in his 15 innings in the majors. I think he's going to be good. But I do think he's overpriced comparatively to the other kids.
Yeah, and TJ, piggybacking off that, and if you would swap price tags with Yuri Perez, another highly touted prospect who was pretty damn good in his first major league start, didn't get through a ton of outs or innings, but he looked really good. But Perez is priced down to 8,500, so I'm curious to hear your Taj Bradley and your Yuri Perez takes.
They're my two highest owned pitchers today. I'm just taking some shots on the youngins. I've been getting a lot of flack lately for Kirk D's making things up on the GrindersLive show and Dean gassing him up that I was calling Chop old and over the hill. None of these things happened. But even so,
Chop is old. I don't know if you said it or not. He's not over any hill, but I mean, the man's old. That's not a false statement if you said it or not.
I was giving him the gears a little bit because he said he was looking forward to having a fun Friday evening, and so he better not have any dairy. And so I thought, wow, I'm not looking. I think I said I'm not looking forward to getting to the age where I have that problem too. But I'm gonna
go look at what you said. Like Chop and I sometimes go out on Friday nights, and it gets pretty exciting. But it is kind of old people stuff for sure.
Yeah, and so I found out afterwards that not only did Chop absolutely adore Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but he's also a big in the Fast and the Furious guy. So I think Chop's definitely not my enemy. I think it's Dean and Kirk D's that I got to worry about here. 4 likes away from the next Spidey bomb, but yeah, Perez and Bradley are going to be my two highest owned pitchers today, and Logan Allen's going to be number 3. I'm just rolling with the kids, and I'm still getting some Tyler Wells. I'm still getting a little Tyler Anderson, but I'm just rolling out the rooks today.
Yeah, talk about these kids a little more, Cheese. Logan Allen not looking like he's carrying a lot of ownership, giving up some hard contact. Had a pretty nice little minor league career, and he's been pretty good. Hasn't given up a lot of homers since he's been up with the big club. I know your feelings about the Chicago White Sox in general. They've been pretty miserable. Interesting spot here, Logan Allen and the White Sox. Do you have a take on this one?
Yeah, I really do like Logan Allen. I feel like he doesn't have quite the hype of Perez or Bradley, which leaves him as kind of leftover. And as much as I hate the White Sox, they are a little better against lefties. And they're healthy-ish. They still don't have Jimenez back, but they got Anderson back finally. So, it's not like a cakewalk matchup like it is when they face a righty. But Allen, I think, is definitely good, potentially very good, and super low owned compared to Perez, probably low owned compared to even Tyler Wells. So yeah, I'm very much on board. But Perez is definitely my favorite, and I think everyone's favorite after Cease. He'll be the chalk SB2 on DraftKings, but I'm totally fine with that. He is underpriced for the potential and the matchup. I'll just say, I'm not going super overboard on any of them because they're still kids. All these guys are going to have a disaster start out of nowhere, and who knows when. It could be today, could be 2 months from now.
Sounds like Cheese is ageist.
It does, as well he should be. Yeah, kids are a mess, but they can be good for short periods of time.
That is an actual genuine great description of kids.
Perfect.
Yeah, so very officially, Perez is my favorite. Allen is my second favorite. Bradley, my third favorite. And I'm with TJ that I think it's a day to play the kids and go underweight on Cease and Tyler Wells. Yeah, and I'll leave this discussion on the table for you guys. Kind of the other guys on this slate. You mentioned Tyler Wells. Looks like he might carry some more ownership on DraftKings, which we can kind of segue the conversation there if you'd like, if there's any major differences, as well as Tyler Miguel. The Mets won a thriller, extra inning thriller yesterday. We didn't get the exact Tampa Bay lineup we thought we would, so maybe does that bump Miguel up your board a little bit? Obviously,
the gloves are off on a 4-gamer, and there's going to be some goofiness, of course. But talk about some of these other guys we haven't mentioned, and if you want to transition into any pitching differences on DraftKings, go for it. TJ, I'll throw it over to you first.
We did just reach 100 likes, so we got Spidey Bum number 2 today. My favorite stack, which we're going to be getting to, is Tampa Bay today. And Josh Lowe is leading off. You can get him for plus 490 over on Caesars. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, that might have adjusted to plus 625. You could get him for on Caesars before. Maybe that's adjusted to 490 now that he is leading off. No, plus 625 over on Caesars right now. Hammer that bet, because he's plus 290 on Fanduel to hit a home run, and he's plus 625 on Caesars to hit a home run, according to Scores and Odds right now. Josh Lowe is leading off, facing McGill. He is Spidey Bomb number 2. Get us up to 125 likes, and we got the third one of the day. The first was, of course, Hunter Renfroe. But honestly, I'm not playing McGill today. I love Tampa Bay, and I'm not playing any McGill. I only got 5 pitchers in my pool. It'd be very similar for FanDuel as it is DraftKings. Perez, Bradley, Allen, Wells, and Anderson. That's it for me today.
Anything different, Cheese, on your end?
No, same. I'm playing Tyler Anderson instead of McGill as the random old person. I have 1 or 2 Trevor Williams stuck in there, even though I don't like him at all either officially. It's just the whole, hey, it's a huge slate, whatever. But basically, same thing as TJ. Like, I want the 3 kids, and I want a little Tyler Anderson. I do have some Dylan Cease, but that's it. I don't like McGill today.
All right, cool. Let's go position by position here, and then we'll take some questions. Make sure you're dropping them in. I got 1 question from Steve-O in the Discord. That's about it, and a couple are on the YouTube. So get some questions in. We'll get to them. Starting a catcher on a 4-gamer, obviously, not a ton of fantastic options. And, obviously I think catchers are more in play on a short slate on both sites here. We talked about some of the Orioles. Adley Rutschman has a salary saver tag from our guy Bobby Gomes on Lineup HQ. A couple catchers in pretty interesting spots here. Cheese, I'll start with you. Talk to me about catcher.
It's pretty bad, but every position is pretty bad. Like, that's just what this slate is. I think Rutschman, because salary is just so readily available, he'll be pretty popular on DK. I think I'd rather play him on FanDuel, where he won't get played as much. Other than that, Grandal is fine. Bethancourt is fine. I can't give you any reason to want to play any other catcher outside of a stack. Maybe James McCann, lefty masher, as they say. But it's Rutschman or just kind of whatever fits.
Yeah, from
TJ?
like a optimal perspective, I would be looking at Rutschman too, but I'm honestly just playing guys in my stack today. Rutschman is my highest owned guy at 15%. Gallagher is my lowest owned guy at 5%. Grandal, Zavala, Fortes, Ruiz, McCann, Bettencourt, Wallach, Perez are all there in between. So this is just strictly a correlating with my stack spot today.
Yeah, moving on to first base, it kind of seems like there's a wealth of options. Like, there aren't any terrible looks at first base. I can make a case for pretty much anybody on this list on FanDuel. And, at the top you see Pete Alonso, who had the big walk-off yesterday. But Ryan Mountcastle has been incredible against left-handed pitching. And, I kind of bought back in, and maybe we'd see the old Tyler Anderson about 5 days ago, and that didn't happen. He's given up. His metrics aren't good at all whatsoever, especially against righties this season. So if I'm thinking Orioles, I'm thinking Ryan Mountcastle. But really, first base, I don't know if I can call it loaded on this slate, but there are a ton of good options here. And even looking down further, if you're not a believer in Taj Bradley at this moment, you can find some value in Daniel Vogelbach, or even if you play him over Alonso in some of your Met stacks as a way to easily eat $1,100, and it doesn't feel great, but Vogelbach could be the guy to drive in 3 runs and not Alonso today. So first base, Cheese, what are your thoughts here?
The first thing I'll say is that you talked about Mountcastle, like 4-game slate, kind of sketchy pitching. Feel free to play a hitter against your pitcher. So like a Mountcastle in an Anderson lineup is completely viable. Andrew Vaughn and Josh Bell in that Cleveland White Sox game, that's, they're fine because they're cheap and have a little power. Really, kind of like you said, it's not, no position is good today, but there's plenty of fine-ish options here. Alonso and Mountcastle, along with Ohtani on DK, are really the only ones that jump out like, oh, I really want to make sure I get these guys no matter what. Everyone else is playable-ish, but not like I'm going to target them.
TJ?
So Ohtani is the guy that I'm going out of my way to aggressively get over the field on today. If people are going to be getting near 30% of Mountcastle today, then I'm going to be getting 30% of Ohtani. And so I'm getting 15% Mountcastle. Brandon Drury I'm getting a lot, but it's mostly at second base. Pete Alonso, Mountcastle, and Harold Ramirez are the main targets for me here. And then Josh Bell and Andrew Vaughn are kind of the next guys that I'm mixing in.
Okay. We'll move on to second base. Drop your questions. We'll get to them momentarily. Brandon Lau carrying a bunch of ownership here, rightfully so. On FanDuel, talk to me about second base. Is Brandon Lau the play, Cheese?
Yeah, there's basically two plays with Lau and Jimenez. I think that's your chalk. And then you could throw Louis Arias in there because, especially on DK, it's fantastic that he is $5,400 and he's the only second baseman over 5K. But really, Jimenez and Lau is kind of the whole position, other than Drury, who I like. Not even in stacks as a one-off, just for home runs. I think those are the only three guys I'm aggressively looking to get on their own. Everything else is just in that every player on the slate is in play in a stack for sure. But Lau, Jimenez, Drury.
Go ahead, TJ.
Couldn't agree more. I got over 20% of all of them, over 30% of Brandon Lau, and everybody else is just like a 5% sprinkle today. I'll get a little bit of Arias and a little bit of McNeil, a little bit of Walls, because like I mentioned, Tampa Bay is my favorite stack on the slate. But I kind of rank them for tournaments. For me personally, it's the Rays 1, it's the Angels 2nd, and it's Cleveland 3rd going up against Cease, trying to take advantage of that ownership a little bit. And so Lau, Drury, and Jimenez are my three guys as well.
Third base chalk is headlined by Jake Berger and Gene Segura on both sites. Isaac Paredes carrying some ownership here as well. And
someone say this slate is nonsense. What you just said sums it up.
Yeah. Good Lord. I mean, what do you do here, Cheese?
It's wild. Like, this is far and away the worst third base slate of the year. Like, normally this is a great position, and Jake Berger. He's a good play. Like, he has power. Even if you like Logan Allen, like, he can hit a home run. But otherwise, there's just nobody here. There's nothing we can't like pretend and make something up. Play any one of these guys in a stack because you have to have a third baseman, and I don't want to have like 60% Jake Berger, and I certainly don't want to just play a bunch of Segura as a one-off. So this position is more like how we usually talk about second base. Like, I guess just leave it till last and play whoever correlates because there's nothing here.
Yeah, TJ, Brett Beatty and Gunnar Henderson, carrying a lot less ownership here. Obviously, Gunner's down in the order, but you got to love that matchup against Anderson. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I actually don't mind the Beatty pivot one bit. I think that's very interesting today. I like Bradley today, but Beatty as a one-off or even in a mini stack with Alonso and Lindor or something like that, I do like quite a bit. As it stands right now, Berger's the guy sitting in my single entry, and he's my highest owned player as well. Isaac Paredes. Well, that was weird. Isaac Paredes is going to be my second highest owned guy, and then everybody else is just a stack.
Cool. Let's move on to shortstop, and this should leave us about 10 minutes for questions once we tackle the outfield. So shortstop, have some household names at the top, and I guess Jorge Mateo has cemented his name into the top because he's just having a crazy start to the season. What are you doing at shortstop, Cheese? Anything out of the ordinary?
The slate shifted a lot with Franco out because he was going to be like one of the main chalky players on the whole slate. So without him, now we're going to see like a ton of Anderson and Lindor ownership. And then Ahmed Rosario is no longer sneaky. So out of those chalky guys, I like Lindor the best. And then the same as all these other positions. Like there are people with names and like one or two arms and a leg or two, and you're allowed to play them. But I can't give you any reason to like anything here once you get past that top 3 or maybe 4 if you want to include Mateo in there. That's all I can say. Lindor top, then Anderson, Rosario, Mateo, and then people with names.
That's fair. TJ, what do you got for me?
Yeah, people with names is a good way of putting it. Tim Anderson and Mateo are 2 guys that I have at 20% today. I'm rolling with Anderson in my single entry with a little burger mini stack. Lindor and Rosario are my 3rd highest owned guys, and everybody else is only in a stack. I do kind of like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just like a bit of a gut thing, and maybe it's because he just happens to be having randomly good games every time I look at box scores, but he's got a 41% hard hit rate this year. I don't hate the idea of taking some CJ Abrams shots in tournaments.
I don't mind that call. For the Orioles stacks, I would not forget about Joey Ortiz. I know he's in the 9 hole and it's really gross, but this entire slate is just gross. And guy who hit 19 homers between 2 levels last year in a 4-gamer who's going to be in a very popular stack. Don't hit the X button on Joey Ortiz, in my opinion. Let's move on to the outfield, Cheese, and then we'll get to some questions here. I see a lot of colorful blips next to Luis Robert Jr. and a big ownership number as well. What are your thoughts on him? And talk to me about some of these other options.
Yeah, we actually finally have a fair amount of good options in the outfield. Ohtani and Trout will be the chalk along with Robert and Rosarena. Like that's a very strong top group. I have Hunter Renfroe up there with them. I have Jorge Soler up there with them as well. So that's half a dozen guys that I like better than pretty much anything at any other position on the slate. So salary rarely matters in any lineup, but where it does, I'm going to try to spend my salary in the outfield, as is everybody. There's nothing sneaky about any of those guys. I want a little bit of Santander. I want a little bit of the cheap Marlins outfielders like De La Cruz and Burdick. And that's kind of what I want.
TJ?
So I'm going to have 50% Mike Trout today. He's going to be highly owned, and I'm just going to get more than everybody else. Hunter Renfroe and Josh Lowe, my 2 Spidey bombs, they are going to be my 2 next highest owned outfielders today. 17 more likes away for Spidey bomb number 3, so hit that like button. We got Corbin Carroll, who hit yesterday. Spidey bombs are popping. Smash that like button. Trout, Renfroe, Lowe, Ohtani are going to be my 4, and then a Rosarena. So Rays and Angels are going to be my 5 highest owned players in the outfield today. Then it's followed by Soler, Robert. I always say Robert. Soler, Robert, Hayes, and Santander for me.
I think we should put in your contract that you have to dress up as Spider-Man for every live appearance that you do. I think it would just be great.
If it comes with a pay raise, I'm in.
Yeah, I can't make any guarantees there. Anyway, a little above my pay grade, but let's get to some questions.
That mask hurts to take on and off, so I need compensation if I'm going to be scraping up my ears every day.
Just leave it on. Who cares? Face paint? I don't know. We have one question from Steve in the Discord. Get those questions in the Discord, guys. Orioles probably have the best bullpen in baseball, Steve says. Should that be scaring him away from an Angel stack? Chops, oh, man. Producer Steve on his A game.
Not only is Kirk Dees lying, but he's gone to the lengths of Photoshop to get this on the screen here. So I think I need to talk to my lawyer about some potential slander charges.
Can we just get to some questions, TJ? Jeez, come on, man. Talk to me. Orioles bullpen scaring or no? Are you still on the Angels here?
Still on the Angels.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say about that, one, it's a 4-game slate. That's the main thing. But also, like, basically the Orioles bullpen, the 2 guys at the back, Cano and Bautista, have been amazing and are amazing. The rest of the bullpen is not amazing. It's fine. And so if the Angels are going to win, you're not going to see those two guys anyway. If you take them out of the bullpen, it's not one of the best bullpens.
That's fair. All right, let's get to some of these YouTube questions here. If I missed them, I apologize, and feel free to yell at me politely. Playing FanDuel and playing one lineup. So I want to play an LA 1-4 and 2 Tampa Bay guys and 2 Baltimore guys with Perez. Will that be okay? Yeah, I mean, sounds fine to me. I think Perez is a great option to pitcher, and we talked about Baltimore and those righty LA bats are in good spots, and TJ likes Tampa Bay. That was a lot to digest there, but I think we're good. Going a little bit on a different path here. If you had $600 left, where would you spend it on a player in FanDuel? I mean, you could just leave so much salary on the table. I mean, I don't want to say to play whoever you want slate, but kind of, right?
Yeah, don't feel like you got to spend your salary today.
That's definitely not too much to leave on the table. And then in terms of answering it as a question, it kind of depends on who you have currently in your lineup.
That's fair. Any thoughts on Garrett Cooper?
No.
None?
He's in a few Marlins stacks, but I don't ever really think too much about Garrett Cooper.
There's not a reason to like him per se, but play him in Marlins stacks, sure.
From Allen in the chat, 8 righties in the White Sox lineup. Can Logan Allen handle that, Cheese?
Yes.
Okay. Jake Berger or Gene Segura on DraftKings, TJ? I don't know what format, but I'm not sure that it matters.
Berger,
okay.
I'm a Berger
How do you
guy.
feel about Joey Wendell as a one-off on DraftKings, Mr. Potts?
I mean, it's such a weird little position. Like, any player is fine as a one-off. There's no reason to really like Joey Wendell, and there's no reason to really need the salary. But like, if you can't afford like Lindor or Anderson, I mean, sure. Like,
if you have $300 more, if you have $300 more, I like Ortiz better.
How do we feel about Mickey Moniak aside from the 2K tag on FanDuel?
I like Moniak today. He's in my single entry.
Okay. Every time I saw that guy play at 2A Reading, he went 0 for 4 at 4Ks, but he's losing.
I do wonder. I gotta think he's a pretty high pinch hit risk because they've got like 3 lefties sitting back there. But I like him certainly leading off.
Okay.
He's just hitting home runs 100% of his at bats right now too. So
yeah,
might as well.
And 100% is a lot. It's almost as high as you can get. Almost.
Yeah.
DK Cash
numbers.
For DK Cash, I'm in the Discord now. Is there a catcher 3K or under that either of you are interested in?
No.
Perez or sorry, McCann.
Okay, McCann. Another question from the Discord. Best 2 DK Cash pitchers. Who are you looking at? Cheese for Cash.
With the caveat that, of course, I never play Cash, and I really wouldn't play Cash on a 4-game slate. That's where I would play Dylan Cease, as much as neither TJ or I like him or trust him. Like, personally, I think Cease and Perez are the very obvious cash game chalk, and that's just what I would do too.
Cool. Another FanDuel Cash question. I'll go over to TJ from Prodigy in the chat. Would you play Lindor or Walls? He has 2 other Rays as well.
Lindor.
Okay. Carolina guy, what's up? Hopefully we answered your question. I was watching GrindersLive earlier, and both the guys said they have lineups with up to 2,500 or more left on the table. So again, stressing, don't feel like you have to spend that salary for tournaments today. Do you have a favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher, Cheese, today, if you had to pick one?
I would say it's Perez.
Okay. What are your thoughts on any pinch hit risk from Tampa or Baltimore guys today? You have any worries? Anyone specifically here?
Yeah. There's never any telling what Tampa's going to do. Like, I'm not going to try to project Tampa pinch hitting risk, but there is some. I would say probably Luke Raley I would put first. Baltimore, it's all over the place. Like, I think because Mullins is not in there. Either McKenna or Hayes is coming out. Probably McKenna. So I would say McKenna probably gets pitched in for. James McCann is always a risk for that against a lefty, but not necessarily. I would mostly say McKenna, but I wouldn't be stunned if like Hayes or McCann came out either.
Gun to head, while I have you here, would you rather have an Orioles or an Angels stack today?
Angels.
Okay. And sticking with you, TJ, question from Jose in the chat. Do you like Bradley or Cease for cash?
Yeah, for cash, it's like she said earlier, I'm not playing it, but if you were, that's like the one place that Cease is a must today, just because his ownership's going to be so high, you kind of got to play him in cash games.
Any whatsoever interest, Chiefs, of Trevor Williams on DK against a bunch of righties in Miami?
Very sadly, yes, a little bit. I mean, I think he's truly terrible, but he is kind of not truly that terrible against righties, and it's a bunch of righties, and like I can see it working out on a slate where if nobody has a great game, like Williams can squeeze by with like 14 DraftKings points, and you're fine with it.
Let's see here. FanDuel Cash, Trout or Robert, TJ?
Trout. Always.
Single entry DraftKings strategy. Instead of full stacks, what are your thoughts on a couple mini stacks today, Cheese?
In general, I wish I loved it more. I don't like enough things on their own to like. So officially, no, because of this slate. But in general, I love it on a 4-game slate. It's just this isn't the particular 4-game slate where I personally like that.
I was building lineups earlier, and I had some settings in to like try and force in some mini stacks because of how small the slate is. And I just looked at my lineups, and I really didn't like them. And so I'm adjusted in lineup HQ to only get 5 3s, 5 2s, and 5 X's, just because full stacking was the only way I could like my lineups.
Alonso or Vaughn, FanDuel tournament, Cheese?
Alonso.
Don't think I don't see that is Nolan Arenado good at baseball question, because I totally do. Let's see. Do you use Tyler Wells or Taj Bradley if you had to pick one today?
Taj.
Yeah.
Okay. Did we like Bradley on FanDuel? I think that was no. I don't think. I mean, probably
For tournaments,
not.
I'd still be fine with it.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. Are we a lot of uncertainty with Taj Bradley is what we're getting at, right? I mean,
yeah,
like 4-game slate again. Like take the gloves off and take some stands for sure.
Take the gloves off, take some stands, and keep the bankroll low, and don't blow something crazy tonight. It's a great slate to do something wonky, but I wouldn't suggest doing it with a typical 8-game slate type amount of bankroll today, because it is going to be wonky, but it's going to be hard to predict on something like this. And so we did have another question in the YouTube chat of what were the Spidey bombs. Spidey bombs were Hunter Renfroe and Josh Lowe, and we are 3 likes away from our third Spidey bomb. So I'll drop one more for the people here, and you can find Jake Berger at plus 440 over on our sponsor FanDuel today. I like those odds, and he is going to be. Oh, whoops! I think I mixed my things up, and I actually had somebody ahead of him. But you know what? Right there it is. Sorry, I'm taking it back and not Jake Berger, and we're going Ryan Mountcastle, because you can find him for plus 480 on Caesars, and that is far better than for Berger. So yeah. Ryan Mountcastle, Spidey Bomb number 3.
I think we hit pretty much everything here, and we're about to hit lock. So thank you guys for sticking with us. Got a question from Dean78904 in the Discord. More of a post-lock question for Cheese. What are your thoughts on Gallagher? Not the catcher, but the former comedian.
Oh, that's a random and good question. I do have a thought on Gallagher, which is it's kind of how I would say with a lot of things. Like there are people in certain industries that it's not really my thing, and I wouldn't say I like them, but I also fully get it and respect them. That's kind of how I am with Gallagher. It's almost like how I feel about like Elvis Presley. Like I don't sit around and listen to Elvis Presley music because it's not really my thing. I don't really like it, but I wouldn't tell you that Elvis Presley is not great. I don't know. Smashing Watermelons is probably not the equivalent of Jailhouse Rock. But I understand why he's funny and famous. But I'm not going to sit around and watch Gallagher videos either because it's not really my thing.
That was pretty informative. Appreciate that. Cool. Well, we have a full day ahead of us. It's weird with the early lock times. I'm not used to coming on a show this early. So let's make some money. Hope we can help you guys out here. Anything else before we get out of here, gentlemen?
No, you can find me on Twitter at TJ_Zwarych5, where I'm always talking about Spidey bombs and things over at Agents of Fandom. I got a super busy day for that today, so that's what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, tonight, only a couple of baseball games, so I don't have to do anything. Going to go watch some playoff hockey and have playoff basketball on another TV, eat some wings. It'll be a good time.
All right, what's your go-to wing flavor? Maybe before we get out of here, we can leave everyone.
So
off.
when it's at night, because again, like Chop, I'm an old person. When Chop and I go out and get wings at night, I cannot get hot wings after about 6 o'clock for the evening heartburn. So I'm going to do teriyaki. Will be the other go-to.
Like it. TJ, got a go-to flavor?
I'm a honey garlic guy.
Huh. Okay. See, I always thought you were a vampire, so that's weird. But guess
No,
the
I
garlic.
love me some garlic.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here. Enough chicken wing talk. Let's find some baseball action. For TJ, for Cheese, I'm the Luch, and big thanks to producer Steve. See you guys.